So I thought, instead of showing you something new, because I haven't gotten anything worked on lately, today I'm going to walk you through actually the very first fine art composite piece I put together. I had been watching Brooke Shaden on Creative Live, and I felt really inspired to try some of the techniques that I had learned. And so that's how this first piece in my The Journey series was started. So I started with this foggy sunset background. This is actually taken in my side yard. So I didn't have to go anywhere to get this, which is kind of one of the perks of living out in the middle of nowhere. And you can see there's a bunch of layers over here. So the first layer is actually the composited image of me. So let's go back. Okay, so this is me. I shot this inside, and I made sure I set up my light stand to the right because the sun was setting over here. What you'll notice is this is the background, so I used a layer mask to cut myself out, and you can see that here. And then I just made sure to blend my foot in so that it looked hidden in the grass. I did add levels layer and a curves layer to it to kind of make the shadows and highlights look more realistic to the landscape. Okay, so then the next thing I did was I started building the dress. So this tank top became the top of my dress, and I used a bed sheet to create the bottom. So this was one layer, and there's the mask. And I just unfurled the sheet in front of the camera inside, just like I took this picture. You've seen me do that before, I think, in other pieces. And I just kept building, so there's another little addition to it. And then, so I think I only needed those 2 layers. Yes, okay. So then I'm going to go to this layer because I moved me and made me a little bit smaller so that I fit into the frame better. But I needed a shadow under me because the sun would be casting light this way. You can tell by the highlight on my hair and chest that it's kind of above me. So the shadow needed to be under me, but also to the left, and underneath the sheet too. So that's what you're seeing there. And then, okay, so I added a little more to my hair and my other hand because I didn't like that you couldn't see my other hand. I know that that's weird, and a lot of people might not have thought anything of it, but for me, for some reason, that really bothered me. So I added that in and then added a curves layer because the highlight was a little too hot. So on this version of me, I added a lot of retouching. So let's just kind of go through that. So first, we have a levels layer. So what you can see there is I brightened my highlights and my midtones a little bit, and dropped down my midtones a little bit. I have a second levels layer that I applied just to this part of the sheet because I needed my body to be casting a shadow there that didn't exist when I shot it because my body wasn't there. And then a hue layer, I added that to that same area because without it, it's a little more yellow than it should be to like seamlessly blend in. Okay, now I added a glow because I felt like it wasn't bright enough, like the sun wasn't apparent enough. So that little glow helped to create an extra little pop of light. I added another curves layer to the front of my dress, and I'll show you that. There's the mask for it. And again, that is because it was a little too bright, unrealistic. The next layer is the seagull, which I wanted it to be a dove, but I didn't have a photo of a dove, but I did have a picture of a seagull from shots I'd taken at the lake. So I took that photo and then I applied a bunch of layer masks to it too. So the first one you're seeing is a curves mask, and I applied that to the tips of its wings. I did that so that it would make those black shadows that are very seagull-like less apparent. What is that one? I'm not sure what that one was. Then we added another layer where I basically darkened down the bird a little bit more. You can see there, it just, from in the adjustments panel. Oh, why aren't you showing me? Oh, because I'm not on it. Okay. So you can see I brought up my dark so it's not as dark, and brought down my lights so that they're a little brighter. That way it had the same more kind of matte tone as the rest of the image. I applied a hue and saturation layer, basically desaturated it a little bit because it was looking a little yellow, and then a levels layer to darken the whole thing down again. I dodged and burned the face and the under part of the wings, and then again I shadowed it all down. Now it might seem like, well, that was a bit excessive, you could have done those in individual layers, but for me every step is like so detail oriented. It's easier for me to do a layer and then create a new layer and continue to build, instead of like getting it perfect in one levels layer or one curves layer. And that may be the quote wrong way to do it, but it's what works for me, so that's what I've done. So that's the first image I ever created. It's not perfect. There's things that I would change to it now. But for the first piece I ever created and just dipping my toe into the waters of fine art composite work, I was super excited with how it turned out, and it really got me excited to do more. So I hope that you found this kind of fun. If you have questions about any of the process or things that you'd like to see in the future, just let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!